Welcome to ArtsWestchester's Virtual Art Workshops. My name is Vicky Youngman and I'm a teaching artist at ArtsWestchester. Today, we're going to be experimenting with paper quilling. You will need some construction paper. You can use any size you want. These are 8.5 by 11, and you could have a lightweight or heavyweight or both. But try to find some bright colors if you can, and some contrasting colors, light and dark. You can also use scraps of construction paper like I have here. They don't have to be perfect. They can be used. We'll also need some glue, some white glue, and a paintbrush. You can put the glue in a plastic lid if you like. We'll need a ruler, a pencil, a pair of scissors. You can use these fancy scissors, edging scissors if you have any, but those are not necessary, just as long as you have some scissors. And something thin like an old paintbrush. If you don't have an old paintbrush, maybe a toothpick would work, or a skewer, but I have an old paintbrush today. And the last thing you need is a pair of tweezers. Okay, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is create the background. This is where you're going to place all your quilling pieces of paper and compose a design. So you can take your lighter piece of paper, just use the scissors and cut. Okay, so I've cut all the way around the edges here so that you can see the contrast of the light and dark. And I'm going to glue this, just a few dots of glue will be fine. I can use the paintbrush. All right, there we go. Okay, so next you need to cut your strips. They are about 1/4 inch wide, or even a little bit less. And then just cut along the lines. So now I'm going to take one of my strips, the paintbrush, and I'm going to roll this strip as tight as I can around the paintbrush. Just start at the top, go all the way down to the bottom. Now the reason they call this quilling is when people started doing this hundreds of years ago, instead of a paintbrush, they used a feather, a bird's feather called a quill. So that's how we got the name quilling. This is the simplest form you can make. Just a simple circle, that's what this one will be. When you get to the bottom, take your paintbrush out. I have my piece of paper here, and I'm just going to place it down here on my background paper and just let it unfurl, unroll naturally. I've placed several of the simple circles on the background paper. We're going to take another piece of paper and we're going to do an S, like an S swirl shape. So you start the same way. You start at the end of your paper. You roll it fairly tightly as you can around the paintbrush, but we're only going to go halfway down. So I think halfway is about here. Take the paintbrush out, and then I want, in order to make that S shape, to roll on the other side of the paper all the way down to the center, so that when I take it out, I have an S form. All right, we'll put that here. So you can see on this finished one how I made 4 of those and put those in each corner as part of the composition. So far, I've only made 2 forms, but there's a lot you can do just with that. Okay, now I think we'll try a V shape. If you can see this one here, this pink one, is a V with 2 swirls coming out on either side. The same way here at the top. All right, I have the green strip here. So what I want to do is fold this one in half, like we did the other one, except this one I want to make a fold that's very apparent and kind of sharp. All right, so we'll have our V shape, and we're going to have swirls coming out on either end. So take my paintbrush again. So it's all the way down to the bottom there. I'll take the paintbrush out. We have the beginning of our blade of grass, if we want to call it that. We'll start here, do the same thing. Okay, take the paintbrush out, and now we have our little V. Now you can open these up more if you want to. This is still pretty tight, but you can just pull it open like this, and that'll hold the shape, more open shape. I'll put that down there, and I have some others that were done in a similar kind of way. However, these 2 swirls are going in the same direction instead of opposite directions. Now we're going to make a heart form. So I've taken a pink strip of paper here, folded it in half. All right, so we have our end point. We're going to make a heart, so this will be the end point of the heart. We're going to take our paintbrush and we're going to roll the paper inward instead of what we just did, which was to roll it outward. Now we're going to roll in toward that center point. So I'll put a couple of these down here on the paper, and why don't we do a couple of forms, which is kind of like an eye. Very simple, but maybe that'll be our last form. So we'll take the pink, and we start the same way as we did at the very beginning, with just rolling our paper around the paintbrush all the way to the end. And this is the only one so far that we've made that we probably should glue the end shut. We haven't done that on any of the others because we really didn't need to, although you could if you want to as you go along. This one I'm going to take off, let it unroll a little bit, like that. Okay, and then here is the end piece here. I'm going to take just a little bit of glue. Glue it down, and I'll need to hold it here for a minute. As I'm holding it, I could go ahead and kind of pinch both ends here. There we go. Okay, so this is kind of a small eye form. You can also take your tweezers if you want to. If you want a sharper kind of corner or point on anything, you can pinch it a little bit more with the tweezers. So for this last part, we're going to do a close-up, and I want to show you how I glue these down. I've arranged them. You can kind of play with your arrangement, but I've got an arrangement here that I like well enough to start gluing. Okay, so I have my glue and paintbrush. I'll just put a little bit of glue on the back here. And I think this piece of paper is big enough that I can just place it down. Some of the smaller ones, like this one in the center, we're going to use the tweezers. You can pick it up with the tweezers. You can put it right in the glue, just a little bit of glue, place it back down there where you want it and press it. Okay, so you would just do that for all of them till you get everything glued down the way you want it, and it'll dry within just a few minutes, and then you'll be able to pick it up. So, if you've enjoyed this today, please visit us at artsw.org. Thank you. Bye-bye.